Hi, and welcome to session 20 of your Divine Purpose Devotional. And this session is, well, it's simply this: it must be supernatural. And there's no question about this in my mind. And yet, to be honest, generations of churchgoers have battled with this. Battled with cessationism, battled with people saying that God doesn't speak anymore, battled with saying that it stopped with those first apostles. Well, for me, actually, the life of the great apostle Paul is the great testimony that is quite clearly not true, because he was not one of those original 12, yet gave us the 13 letters of our New Testament. And there's absolutely no question in my mind as I read him, this apostle who equips the saints to be apostolic, right at the center of everything that he says and teaches are phrases like, "I didn't come with clever words, but with a demonstration of power." And 2 Corinthians 12:12, where he says, the signs of the true apostle have been seen among you, signs, wonders, and miracles with perseverance. It must be supernatural. And we sometimes lose this simple truth. Faith is supernatural because we're believing in something that we cannot see, that is outside of the natural. The very basis of everything that we believe is supernatural. And so I have never understood how we can have, as it were, churches or ministries that invite people to give their lives to Jesus, who they cannot see, believing that he is raised from the dead, and yet will say that healings and miracles and God speaking is not for today. It must be supernatural. It is the very basis of our faith. And what did Jesus say? He didn't say, "When I come back, will everything be done? Will everything be sorted out? Will you be able to see the fruits of everything you believe for?" No, he said, "When I come back, will I find faith?" And therefore, the nature of the apostolic is that it's supernatural. Paul said, 1 Corinthians 12:1, "Now concerning spiritual, supernatural gifts, brethren, I do not want you to be unaware." We must be informed about the supernatural. I have had a phrase in my head the last couple of days, not to do with filming this, but it's simply this: I cannot settle for a church life that does not pursue the demonstration of power, the demonstration of the supernatural whenever we meet. My wife and I have had the privilege of seeing miracles and experiencing miracles ourselves. One, and probably our favorite in our family, was my wife being healed of infertility. It was impossible, and yet she was healed in a moment and gave us our second son, Luke, which ultimately has given us our granddaughter, Jane. And we absolutely pursue and believe the supernatural, bringing heaven to earth, removing everything from earth that isn't in heaven and bringing everything from heaven that is in heaven is supernatural. It is us believing that we will see on earth things that are impossible. We are supernatural beings. Many Christians describe themselves as this. We're seated in heavenly places, we read that, with a temporary residence on earth. Our nature, our assignment, our gifts must therefore be supernatural. Peter said, "We have become partakers of the divine nature." And Paul, writing to the Romans in Romans 1:20, said, "His power, his attributes, and his nature have been on display since creation." If we are to be partakers of the nature of God, then we will be supernatural beings. And yes, we're not going to see it all immediately, but we believe as if we will. Jesus said, "When I return, will I find faith?" The answer therefore remains, will he? He didn't say, "Will I find every blind eye healed?" He said, "Will I find faith?" And to be honest, this for me is the hallmark of our ministries and our lives. A friend of mine, talking about ministry a little while ago, talked about the superpower. What's your superpower? Well, our superpower for every one of us is that we are filled with the Holy Spirit. The same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead is alive in us. That is ultimately our superpower. And our assignment is to release that power, that Holy Spirit, through the gifts that have been given to us, and to pursue signs, wonders, and miracles. As you review this, the review question for this devotional is this: make a list of the names of God. Which ones contain the supernatural in some way? And therefore, what does this tell you about God? Isn't it amazing? We've just celebrated Christmas, of course, and we walk through shops singing carols that declare the supernatural, angels from the realms of glory. We declare them in those songs. Let's be believers who pursue the supernatural, because we want to see God manifested on earth. Declare. What will you declare to reinforce what you've learned in this? What will you declare, perhaps over your life? Declaring a miracle, believing for a miracle, declaring that you are a supernatural being, declaring that you are filled with the same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead. And reflect, to what extent do you rely on the supernatural to live the life that Jesus has called you to? And maybe you want to look back through the supernatural breakthroughs that you have had, those impossible moments, those impossible situations. The apostolic assignment must be supernatural. Our faith is supernatural. We are believing in a God who we cannot see, believing in the resurrection from the dead, which is an act of faith. And Jesus said, when I come back, will I find faith? Thanks for joining me. Declare over yourself, my assignment must include the supernatural.